Jae-in said, a historic chapter in the history of the Korean Peninsula. To break this down a little bit further, we have with us Kim Chang-soo of the Korea Institute for Defense Analyses. Thank you for joining us, Professor.
Good to see you, Chang-ho. Okay.
Now, when the two leaders met and shook hands, in the press corps, there was audible gasps and a spontaneous round of applause.
Sure. Right.
I mean, what is your reaction? How do you feel about this personally?
I joined him because this is a really good start for our two countries, North and South Korea, and this portended well for a coming meeting with the President and also possibly another summit meeting with Kim Jong-un. I think this is a restart as a very good meeting. Everything went just as planned, punctual, and there was a good handshake and there was a reception, and also red carpets and on-guard. Everything went just fine. And they are talking very kind words to each other, thanking him for coming down to Seoul. And also, I noticed President Moon Jae-in particularly appreciated Kim Jong-un's decision, bold decision to come down to Seoul, to come to southern part of the MDL to have this meeting. So this is a very friendly and open-minded discussions and welcoming ceremony. And so far, everything went so good, and people are just becoming much more kind of euphoric. There's a good reason for that, and this is, I think one of the things that I noticed is Mr. Kim Jong-un writes in the guest book that this is the beginning of a new peace. So my focus was, we are talking about the unification in the past, always unification, but instead of unification, this peace is more reasonable. And so as the motto of this conference said, this peace at a new start, we are not talking about a kind of potential unification between two Koreas, which will come later on, but for the moment in the near future, it is a peace on the new start. So we are just leaving all the era of division behind, and we're agreeing a new era of kind of peace. I thought this is really symbolic, and this is a very good news for not only for the South Korean and North Korean people, but also to the world, because all these neighboring countries have been involved in security and peace and unification potentially. But I think for all these countries, a good reason to celebrate that finally we have arrived at a point where we can really expect some real progress in terms of peace, potentially leading to unification.
We'll go back to the opening remarks of the summit in a second. But let me just go back to their handshake at the very beginning.
Yes.
I mean, as you said, everything went to plan. But there was, most of these kind of summits are normally scripted, from beginning to end. But there seems to be one impromptu moment when, as they shook hands and Kim Jong-un crossed over to the southern side, Kim Jong-un offered Moon Jae-in to swap over to the northern side.
That's right.
Yes, and it seemed to catch President Moon Jae-in by surprise. I mean, what was your reaction to that? And,
I was really surprised as well, because that's not on the script, as a matter of fact. And I think I predicted that there will be, after a handshake, there may be a kind of hugging each other. But I proved wrong. But instead, they went to cross the MDL again, and they stayed there maybe a couple of seconds there, and come back to the southern part of it, which is a little surprise. But this is a sign of a harmony, rather than just one side forcing on each other. But this is just kind of agreement, mutual agreement. Okay, you cross the MDL, and you also should cross this MDL, and then reuniting again. So so less than 1 minute, it was a very symbolic, and which has been, I don't think it has been planned, but this is a great, a bold gesture by Kim Jong-un, and it's a good surprise.
I think it's especially significant for President Moon Jae-in, especially as his family is from the northern side. That's
right, because Mr. Moon Jae-in also crossed, even momentarily crossed the MDL line, and he's originally from North Korea. So this is a kind of sign of the old past history, but now we are heading for a new era of peace, rather than a new kind of old era of division and confrontation with each other. Highly symbolic, right?
Very symbolic, and you said everything went to plan. What do you think about the body language of the two leaders as they walked in? We're seeing pictures now as they crossed over the line. Moon Jae-in seemed quite calm. and Kim Jong-un looked quite confident as well, but perhaps a little bit of hint of nerves. What do you think?
Oh, they should be, in their heart, they should be feeling kind of nervous, but on surface, they should behave as a leader, really qualified leaders, dealing with all this kind of very sudden changes in our relationship. But I think this is quite something we can expect from the leaders on both sides. I think they actually perform perfectly as a leader, showing that we have this confidence in meeting each other, and we are heading for a kind of new era of peace, rather than unification for the moment. Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's go into so they met and they walked in, they did the signing, and then they opened the summit. They showed, they broadcast live the opening remarks by the two leaders. Kim Jong-un seemed to carry on his positive attitude, positive remarks towards Moon Jae-in, offering a few jokes here and there as well.
That's right.
What did you make of his comments?
I guess it's a very good start, and this is a good icebreaker remarks, for example. And we talk with it very honestly. And the good thing is we are speaking our own model and tongue, and there is no need for any translators. That's why they could just convey what they have really in their minds. I think this is just perfect for the two leaders to communicate with each other face to face, and this is a good sign that we're going to have a very good kind of summit meeting later on this day, and include the dinner this afternoon. So I'm just looking forward to what kind of joint announcement we're going to have after this meeting. So yeah, sure, very excited, very relaxed, and very good.
What do you think? So right now, they've started the summit meeting. They'll be carrying on the summit meeting for probably an hour or two before they break for lunch. What do you think they're going to be talking about right now? What are the issues that they will try to tackle?
I don't know, because if you look at the pictures, there are only three guys and two delegates, three delegates as well, rather than just 7 or 9. Because this is just very intimate meeting between a very inner circle, to Kim Jong-un and Moon Jae-in, two on each side. So they are talking something that has not been planned among the members. So there's maybe some friendly episode, maybe family issues, food and stuff, or culture issues, how we should be reunited again because we are one nation as a matter of fact. So this is a kind of ice-breaking, but very friendly, personal remarks to each other, and which will really pave the way for a successful summit meeting later on this afternoon.
So this meeting right now is going on between the 6 of them. I mean, all the work has really been done so far, getting up to this point. So perhaps it is just a matter of, making the final, shaking hands and making the final signatures. But do you think there's something that they're going to be talking about in there specifically? Like, do you think they're going to be talking about denuclearization?
I don't think this is time, not a time for talking about denuclearization. This is, the denuclearization is too heavy. I think there's something about the personal ties, or what should be the reason, rationale why we should seek for peace instead of denuclearization, for example, and peace rather than unification, which has been the case for the last 50, 70 years. But now this is new era just started, and they are standing at the starting line for a new peace. So this should be a very personal, very friendly encounter with each other, rather than very strict official talks about denuclearization, because they are simply too tough, too heavy.
So that you're saying that the actual topic of denuclearization might be too much to tackle in this kind of meeting, that they would have had to do that beforehand, or someone perhaps lower down the chain would have discussed it more?
I think this kind of heavy tough stuff like including denuclearization will be discussed later with all the members, only like 7 and 9 on each side. But with just among these 6 people, starting with the friendly and personal ties and their dreams for peace on the peninsula again, rather than division. I think this is something they can personally discuss with each other, rather than official meetings with all the attendants on their entree. That's why this is just personal ties. His sister and his vice chairman for the Central Committee for inter-Korean relationship, and this symbolism means, and this this shows the significance Mr. Kim and Mr. Moon attach to this just 6th meeting for the moment, but which later we will move to a little bit bigger meeting between the two sides.